Hello, everyone, and welcome to this late night edition of the LCK show. It's dGon here alongside Wolf, who just came off of the EWC qualifier match where they killed each other 14 times in 7 minutes, being KT and Nongshim ending up being victorious, unlike what happened during the week where Nongshim are just not a good team right now. But before we get into LCK, the biggest news lighting on fire the Twittersphere here, Wolf, is the KeSPA decision on who will represent South Korea at the Asian Games. This dropped pretty fast and pretty innocuously around 2 p.m., I believe it did, maybe yesterday. And everyone has weighed on in with their thoughts. The roster is not Keen in the top lane, but Zeus, not Oner in the jungle, or Kanavi, but Canyon. In the mid lane, not BDD, not Chovy, it's Zeka with substitute Faker. And that bot, it's Gumayushi, not Viper. And there was only one choice at support, it was Keria. So one more time, it is just kind of a crazy, surprising roster, given also knowing that like Korea has like a wealth of riches. But Wolf, what is your take here on KeSPA's decision and Hirai's decision?
I think that ultimately the decision metrics are the thing that most thinking fans have issue with, right? Like a lot of fans who are like, hey, I know personally I have a lot of takes. Like a lot of fans who are like thinking high level about not their favorite players, but what's the best way to get some of Korea's players exempt from the military and get Korea a gold medal. Is this the best roster? Because KeSPA basically went back and went through a lot of metrics and stats, including like, CS difference, like gold difference per minute, which is a weird stat that nobody really uses. Some other stats like I pulled up and look at it in front of me. Damage per gold, right? For jungle, it's like, which lanes are you going to? It's your counter jungle CS, like what's your jungler proximity, and if for supporter, like how much roam percentage, stuff like that. That's what they have gone with here, is what they kind of announced and put out there. They notably also exempted MSI results from the selection process, supposedly. So a lot of people took issue with this because at firsthand as well. Which is interesting considering how much Hanwha Life esports we have here and how much you would have thought firsthand would have played a role in that last year. My issue is that if you choose, like, more than using these stats, I mean, okay, that's not true. These stats are not what I would use at all ever, but I think that, like, that's kind of a common take at this point. I think that the issue is that it doesn't take into account current form for a tournament that's happening very soon. And trying to base this on like past tournament results just doesn't really hold water when we're looking at current form of players that are Korean around the world that could participate in this tournament. And so a lot of people were upset. I think a lot of people were upset because their favorite player wasn't picked, like a lot of fans. And that's the kind of reaction that's going to happen no matter what, right? I think that's why a lot of people are also excited because Gumayushi and Keria are getting reunited, which is like, from a almost PR perspective, trying to sell the idea of this roster is really fun and very cool and very exciting. In terms of like the reaction I've seen as well to people who are pushing back on this, I've seen a lot of people upset that like Zeus is getting torn down by fans. They're like, well, it's not his fault. He was chosen. Like, give him a chance to see what he could do. I've seen a lot of different takes. I've seen a lot of like angry takes on the global side and the Korean side. But the truth is, dGon, like, I think very few people looked at this roster and said, I think this is the right one. I think this is the best choice. I'm very happy with this roster. I think the best we got was, like, from any fan that I've seen was, well, Korea has a lot of really good players and you could almost pick anyone and still probably win. That's probably the most positive take I've seen out of anyone out of this whole thing. So I think people are pretty upset.
Yeah, that's what a take, Wolf. People are pretty upset. You know who's not upset? Anyone picking support, because as much as maybe Duro could have gotten a shout last year, Carry is by far the best support in Korea and in the world. He's proven it time and time again. I do want to just shout on Pog State. You and I selected our rosters, and my roster wasn't close. We picked our first and second in each role, and the one substitute we would take. And if we count my substitute, then I got 2 right, because I was bringing Gumayushi, but Viper was my number 1, given the fact recent form, given the fact that they won first stand last year. He was one of the best, if not the best, AD carry throughout most, if not all, of LCK regular season, until I think the very end of regular season, right before playoffs. Then it became a little bit of a mush with Ruler and Guma. But for me, I just felt like, wow, this guy doesn't have military exemption yet. He has been one of the best, if not the best. And then you bring Guma as well, because Guma's 3-time world champion. He's Mr. Clutch. He is your swagger. That's everything. And then him in the mid lane, that is, maybe you could take anybody, but I picked Chovy, and apparently Chovy stepped down because of a hip issue, a hip injury that he's kind of gone through for some time now. And so, okay, that's covered. But then Zeka was kind of interesting, because Zeka's a recent form guy. Like, Zeka last year was good, not great, but recently he's been probably the best mid laner in the league. So if that's how you're going to think, then
why are the other metrics being applied to the other roles? Yeah. So that's the thing that is weird to me, is about the lack of attention to recent form. When we did our Pog State selections, and Pog State may or may not be out. It probably won't be out by the time this first comes out, but you might. It's out already. Okay, yeah, so it is out. So we can talk about this completely. The first thing that everyone wrote on their paper, like when everyone's like, "Oh, this is gonna be a little bit tricky," I'm a little bit concerned about like how fans might react to our rosters. A little bit less so now, by the way. But the first thing everyone, before we even started talking, like it was like the free space on the bingo card. Everyone was like writing Keen's name down. Like before we even started, like people were like, "Well, we don't even really need to talk about this one that much." Right? It was second.
It was only second to Carrier. But yes, it was that fast. It was literally Carrier first, Keen second, and that was surprising to me.
I mean, I think like the reason I say Keen is because most people wrote their list from top to bottom, and like there was just like everyone was writing Keen down first, basically, because it was like, yeah, okay, we kind of know this one. All right, what's next? Is it get a little trickier from there? And then for me, I thought it kind of really wasn't that tricky when I think about what I want from this roster. And for me, like what the Asia Games roster is to me is celebrating individual players who have standout performances, who have an opportunity now to play with a national team, so a completely different roster, and showcase what they're made of with a different squad and get military exemption. Or, which is most important to me about this roster, is win military exemption for this player, so it's better for that person's life, right? It's a life-changing thing to get a gold medal and to, get years of your life back, basically. But also, maybe the other metric is, can you help someone earn that for their life as well? Like maybe we give one player who doesn't have military exemption doesn't get a spot because it means that like more players could get it. For example, like Chovy would have been one of those players where you're like, okay, he's so good that like he might actually get other people exemption. So that's important. That's the metrics I use for this type of thing. And so like Carrier in this case, sure. Keen was very obvious. For Oner versus Kanavi, for me, it came down to like Oner's a little bit more flexible meta-wise. Like his playstyle is way more flexible than Kanavi's right now. Kanavi showcased he had a lot of problems working with other players early on in the year with his style, and eventually everyone kind of adapted to him. But it took a long time, longer than I think it would take. It like too long to get ready for Asia Games necessarily. And like we know he has a very rigid style at the moment. He's showed a little bit of thinking outside of that style more recently, but overall, like I think Kanavi's very binary in his playstyle at the moment, which is a good thing for Hanno Life because they play that way now. So I thought, okay, it's got to be Oner here, right? He didn't have his chance to play for this team. And this is like, to me, what this is about. Like, Kanavi had his run. He won already. Why don't we give Oner a chance to like be able to show what he's made of? He's already spoken publicly about how much this is important to him. And I'm like, it's definitely not Canyon. Like, he is so inconsistent. He is not in the conversation. Like, it's not going to be him. Of our top junglers, he's like, I would personally have rather sent Cuz right now, even with his crazy inconsistencies, because I just think this is Cuz is a player who could actually play with the others a little bit more adaptively, because Cuz doesn't have a hard style either. And Canyon just takes a lot of risks, and Canyon is good in a team where you know who Canyon is. Like, I think you need to be Gen.G to play with Canyon right now, and that's why he still finds success on Gen.G, even in some of his scrappier off days where he's not playing at his best or he's playing too greedy or whatever. They have Chovy, so sometimes you can just kind of go 0-2 in the early game and mess up a Scuttle Crab fight, but then still win the game and actually still have a great performance despite the deficit. So, like, we ended up getting Canyon, though. But how did we get Canyon with these metrics? Like, how did the metrics not give Oner? Because Oner has the good stats. He's the one who won Worlds. Canyon won MSI. It just doesn't feel like the criteria was given to us, but I don't know if, like, we had, like, if someone, like, Men in Black lasered our memories and we didn't know who the roster was, we could use this criteria to, like, make the roster that they made. Like, that's what's, I think, frustrating to a lot of people. And, like, especially Oner, I feel like this was such a no-brainer choice. You could have gone with Kanavi as a backup if you thought, like, I don't know, Kanavi's in better form, but it's a little bit tough to use a style. You could have even put Kanavi in as a sub, but they didn't do that. We now know Chovy supposedly declined, right? Like, I've seen enough sources about that going around that I think that's probably true, or at least it seems to be accurate. I haven't seen Gen.G necessarily make a statement about it. It might have come out since I've been commentating EWC qualifiers, but Chovy supposedly, like, stepped aside. But we ended up getting Zeka and Faker, and BDD's not in the conversation, which I find really weird. Faker already has his exemption, and Faker is a player who performs well with his team, that understands, like, his rotational style and his roaming style, but probably isn't a mid laner that you would want to have in a kind of patchwork type of roster, right? Where you don't necessarily know all the pieces and how they're going to work together. Like, Faker made sense when he was a sub to Chovy before, because we needed to get Faker's military exemption. He needed to get a title. But now he already did that. So, like, why isn't BDD in there? BDD has reportedly already gotten military exemption because he was on standby long enough in the period past. There's been a lot of people who have claimed this, so he doesn't actually have to go anymore. But it's not officially public record. As far as I could find, BDD hasn't spoken about this. So it would have been nice for BDD to be like, oh, I didn't just avoid military, I didn't get exempt. It's actually a point of pride, I think, to a lot of players, say they earned their exemption even if they already had it, which is probably why he hasn't talked about it at all. Because it's not a proud moment for most Koreans, I would say, to say, like, I got exemption, by the way. You know, they usually kind of, like, continue their lives and their careers, but they don't make a big point of saying, like, I got lucky, by the way. I think BDD winning a gold medal and being able to say he didn't go to the military because he won a gold medal would have been cool to see, especially considering his current form recently.
Yeah.
80 carry, Viper's, like, right there. I mean, he's right there. I mean, he's, like, I know he's, like, across the ocean, but I mean, basically he's right there. He's super good. He has been incredibly on form. His stats are bonkers, by the way. Like, talking about metrics.
Yep.
I think they chose Guma because if they're building the rest of the roster this way, he has synergy with a lot of these players, including Keria, Faker. He also was World's MVP. And when you do the national team thing, in most countries, Korea included, when you announce the roster, you like to have, like, a lot of really cool, like, accolades under their names. And having the World's MVP from the previous finals a few months ago is one of the good ones to have on the list. And fans would always be happy, right, if it was Guma Keria. So all of these things seem to makes sense from like what they are thinking. And if they came out and said, instead of posting like KDA, damage per goal, damage percent, we chose Guma because the rest of these parts of the roster we had already chosen for whatever reason they listed there that also isn't, CS per minute. And then said, we thought Guma would work here the best because of his, past history with these players. Then I could say, okay, missed opportunity. I think it should have been Viper, but at least like I can understand that reasoning. But they didn't say that. And so it is, I'm still left feeling like I missed something. Like I feel like I didn't understand how this roster was built.
I mean, I a lot of this is still coming from Korean fans, whether you're Koreans or a fan of the LCK, because if you're over at LEC, let's say if you're over in the States, you're LCS fan, you're like, this roster is ZC FGK with Zeka? That's kind of cracked, right? I mean, it's super cracked. If you're like, I don't know, Vietnam and Levi just retired, you're like, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, we are splitting hairs in the grandest scheme of things. However, this inconsistency is the conversation to the point where even Arnold, CEO of Gen.G, hopped in to share a point about that selection criteria and how it affected Keen and how it's an achievement-based shortlist and not necessarily indicative of what a top laner does, what a player does, right? We're calling out Keen having one of the wildest or widest, most selfless pools in the role and still doesn't make it. And he clarified, before anyone runs with this, he should have put that at the top. This isn't about Zeus. Zeus is world-class and earned his spot. The players aren't the problem. The measuring stick is. And that, I think, is a fair statement. I think that gets lost because it was later on in his tweet. And honestly, and correctly so, that a lot of people that were bad about the tweet was saying, if that's the case, why don't you say anything about Canyon and Oner or Canyon and Kanavi? Because the impact that those guys have is very clear. And, I think it would affect your guy the most. But I still agree with the conversation is not about the players. It's about how KeSPA went about, I guess, trying to be transparent with their selection criteria. They could have just said nothing. They could have just said, this is our team. Boom. And then let the conversation go out. But they're getting extra shtick because of their measuring stick. So, yeah, like honestly, Keen and Zeus, now I think about it, pretty close. I agree with Arnold. Both earned the right to go. I think if it was like Perfect, who's quite in form and made it to the finals, that's where the big argument goes. I think with Canyon, if you look at the last 2 years, he is the winningest jungler in LCK. Sure. But then where's the recency come in? That also, he went to the international event, but he hasn't been playing well. Zeka, who is probably the most informed mid laner right now, other than Chovy, Zeka has had a ton of POMs. He's up there. He's played well. I get that. That's fine. But, if you're bringing Faker and BDD's there, then what are we judging on? The inconsistencies are wild. And then Guma, I'm fine with Guma. Again, Guma was my sub that I was going to bring because I didn't think we needed to bring another mid laner. So, ultimately, esports and Korean esports is such a pride of the country. It makes sense to bring your pride of the country in Faker. That makes sense to me. But then let's not joke. Let's not beat around it. Beat around the bush.
Sure. I think Pays wasn't really in part of our conversations, but he also has the synergy with Carrier. He could have been a consideration if Viper was being, I don't want to say snubbed, but like passed over because he didn't play in KeSPA Cup last year, which KeSPA Cup, is a determining factor as well if you are eligible to be played or not. Although the rules technically do give like a loophole for KeSPA to pick anyone, even if they didn't play in the KeSPA Cup, like if they decide to.
Exemption.
So that might be like something that you could try to say, like, okay, well, Viper wasn't playing in KeSPA Cup last year, so the rule is, I believe, over the last 2 years, and I can't even remember if Viper played 2 years ago. I want to say he did not, but I don't remember. A lot of players take a break and don't play in KeSPA Cup, as we all know, but this is a big incentive for players to play in KeSPA Cup. So we saw even like some of the rosters were like very mixed, like Keen did play in KeSPA Cup last year with a roster that had Harusari in the bottom lane because he needed to make sure he could be eligible and wanted to make sure he had the best chance to be in this roster, where he ultimately was not chosen. Pays could have been someone who could have played with Keria in the bottom lane as well, and I think is in better form and a better likely recent form person than Guma. Guma's style it's hard to know what the form of Guma is individually because he very rarely is given the agency in draft to like showcase it, but obviously World's MVP. I feel like what rubs me the wrong way about all of this is it just doesn't suit my metrics for like, I want to see players given another avenue and chance to play with a different roster to earn their exemption or to earn a fellow LCK and Korean player exemption. Because we just ended up with like Faker being a sub, which doesn't have any bearing on that. Like Faker was not the best mid laner at all when he went and got his exemption last time, which is fine. And like he played games and he was able to earn it. Like he earned it. He went there, he earned it. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but we did that already. Why can't we get player of the year that? Or Keen, like, why not just be like, okay, well, we decided Zeus is the best, but Keen really wants, or Oner, who's like desperate, who's like begging to be on the team. Like, he really wants to be on the team. He's been so outspoken about it. Like, it's almost weird to me that Faker didn't say, actually, can like you guys take Oner this time? Maybe he did, and they said no. I don't know, but like,
no,
it feels a little weird.
Treasure. I feel like that feels very like a conversation that probably happened.
You know what I mean? Like, because Faker is such a obviously known to be quite good guy. Like it feels weird that we did this for Faker. And I know obviously like guys, we all know Faker is the one, and everyone says that when he retires, like the whole industry will collapse, and like we're very aware of that. And that's why we've even talked about how on the show, like we don't know where League of Legends ends, but at least Faker's contract is until X year because like that gives stability. We know that Faker's value is super insane, but this is like an Olympic competition where we're trying to find the best of the best in the world and give gold medals and life-changing exemptions. So since Faker has already done it, why not just invite him to speak or something, at the event? That makes more sense to me than to not give an opportunity to someone like Oner as a sub, even, because it just, we are losing. Like, let me just put this another way. We are gonna lose Keen. We are gonna lose Keen. Isn't that crazy? Like, he's actually just gone now because of this. And everybody expected that there was a pretty decent chance that he'd get on this roster and get his exemption and be able to play in LCK forever. But actually now, like, he will go to military likely next year, and he won't. And he will be like many other top laners before him who did not return because it is too hard to return. So,
a couple things here. One, Viper did play in the 2024, which was played in 2025 KeSPA Cup. It was Viper Delight. I think the Grizzly got an opportunity in there, and so did Roos.
Oh, that's right. I
believe. So he was available. This kind of heartbreak and this kind of discussion happens every 4 years for the Olympics, but more importantly for the World Cup, which is coming up. Soccer for football, I guess. Your national team, who made the cut, who didn't, who should make it. Like Brazil just pulled in Neymar, probably for one of the final times. Ronaldo going back for the final time. Messi going back. So it's at that point where it's like, all right, are we, someone ends up not making it because of that. And when I think of teams like Brazil, where they're just flush with talent, it is difficult. So I do respect the difficult decision that KeSPA has to make. I just don't like the messaging of what they did. And if that could have been cleaned up, great. But generally, KeSPA and messaging, they make some good decisions, but rarely does it get spun the right way. A straight up KeSPA win. So
I mean, I'd even take that step further and say, like, just generally speaking, Korean PR for lots of companies and lots of orgs, it feels like always leaves us a little bit wondering if, like, maybe if they didn't say anything at all, it would have been better.
Happens a lot.
It does. I know we have cultural differences because we're both Westerners, and we do have like an idea in our head about what would be the best way to handle a situation. And even though I've lived here for almost half of my life and my entire adult life, I still don't understand fully sometimes when the decisions are made the way they are.
Yeah.
I think the overall conclusion is that, like, I think no matter what, people were going to be upset, right? Like, people were always going to be upset no matter what the roster was, even if it was the roster that I said or that you said, because people want their favorite players to be exempt or to have a gold medal. Like, Faker has so many titles, he might be the first player to get like 2 gold medals, and well, there will be several, but you know what I mean. People want their favorite player to be involved and like and be on the big stage, like no matter what that stage is, whether it's Olympic stage, it's a world stage, it's an esports awards, stage. I just think that when all of the analysts are confused, like when all of the analysts don't agree. And like, I really respect Hirai, by the way. Hirai has somehow dodged a bullet on all of this because his name hasn't like come up in my feed at all, by the way. Like I've almost seen no one discussing him. Like I feel like I know Hirai would have done things differently if he was fully in charge. Like I trust Hirai's decision making. So I feel confused, and that makes me wonder questions, and it makes me wonder questions that I don't want to wonder, which is some of the things that like a lot of fans have said that I'm not going to repeat because I think it insinuates too much. But
yeah,
like how this roster was really built, and even if I try really hard and I read all the CS numbers and I look at all the results, like I still can't agree with the roster choice. But ultimately, it's not up to me. Ultimately, I can't change it. I can't fix it. Supposedly, Viper, rumor has it, is in Korea trying to change it, trying to get involved. Is from what I've seen.
There's apparently a 10-day appeals time frame. So it was said on Chinese social media that Viper returned to Korea to appeal the decision so that he had no regrets. And we'll see if anyone else appeals. Obviously, a pretty loud and public one from Arnold. T1 fans begging Joe Marsh to also put one out there for Oner. And I think all those are fair shouts. But for me, I think the only one where I'm like, oof, is Jungle. It is Oner. Like, I would love Keen to go, but Zeu's going. Great. We're not prioritizing the exemption. Okay, that's fine. So that's fine by me. I love both those top laners in terms of play. Doran also could have had a shout as well, a little bit more inconsistent, and this season specifically had a pretty slow start when they were probably doing the evaluation. At Jungle, that to me is like, that wasn't the guy. You're deciding whether you're the sword, which is Kanavi, or the shield, which is Oner. Not the polar bear on this one. And then in mid, Zeka's there. Zeka's won a world championship. I get it. It would be great to bring BDD, but if you got to use your substitute there on Faker, then, Guma Viper again, it just, to me, it's like, what more does Guma need to do to get an exemption? Like that's pretty tough. And then Keria has blown away the competition, so him going makes a ton of sense for me. So I just don't know where the priority is. And yeah, well, I feel like it's not done yet, Wolf. It's not done yet. We're going to get the final statement out after the appeals, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, that was actually how I was going to feel like I was going to close this as well. Like, I do think that if Viper is this deep in the process and it's kind of that information is out there, like, that means probably like Joe Marsh is also out there. It means probably people are trying to fight for Oner right now as well. And I don't know. I don't think anyone would be upset if Faker said, you know what? I'm actually not going to go. I want Oner to go as a sub instead. I think, in fact, like, it would be, everyone would cheer the decision, and like Canyon would even still get to go. So it's like everybody wins. But yeah, I hope that whatever happens, whether changes are made or are not made, the messaging is clear and detailed and not a spreadsheet. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like sending a spreadsheet out is probably not the answer this time around. Transparency is the best.
The NBA playoffs are here and underway, and there's no better time to cash in on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks, so don't pass up the next shot with Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. The Do It Live 2026 NBA Final Sweepstake is underway, and you can pick live squares during the NBA playoffs so you could win a trip for two to the NBA Finals. To enter, just make a $5 lineup with at least one live NBA player pick during any part of the 2026 NBA season. Live player picks are picks made after a game is already in progress. And with the big soccer tournament coming on up, Prize Picks is my place to go to get in on all of the action. It's super simple by picking more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in. And you can pick from all your favorite sports, anything from NBA, baseball, hockey, UFC, soccer, college basketball, tennis, golf, esports, and more. Plus, there are a lot of great features here in Prize Picks with early payouts, stacks, or injury reboots. Also on Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. And if you want flexibility, choose Flex Play, where you can get paid even if one of your Prize Picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the Power Play. No matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So make sure to download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LCK to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LCK to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, a preferred partner of the NBA. All right. Well, we've got some big matches that came up at the end of the week with Gen.G T1, KT Hanwha, the t-shirt throw heard around the world, Nongshim versus BNK Fearex. Before we get to all of that, we go into the future today. Head coach of the DN Automotive Supers and owner of the longest losing streak in LCK, oDin, has stepped down. He's been relieved of his duties. Let's see if I can find the tweet. Official announcement. Hello, this is DN Soopers. We've concluded our journey together due to the resignation of the DN Soopers coach oDin. Coach oDin said, I am parting ways with the team to take responsibility as a coach for the unfavorable results. I am grateful to the players who trusted and followed me and the fans who cheered us on. We sincerely thank oDin for his tremendous efforts and dedication as the team's general secretary and coach since 2023, and we cheer for his success in the future. Gung will take on over as interim coach. Wolf, what are your thoughts?
So, I mean, oDin was a very experienced coach. Like, he's been on a lot of big rosters, including Gen.G, where he's found a lot more success than he has in this roster. A lot of people don't know this, but like a lot of our coaches that have worked with the Africa /Soup organization, it was a ex StarCraft player, like Fantasy, who's also a coach in their system. He has made a lot of statements. Like, he's been very vocal recently. He mentioned like the trade for Enosh and like how that wasn't a thing. Like, it came out there. Excuse me, sorry. I see him more of a like hands off in terms of like the strategy type coach personally. Like, as the way I've always viewed him, even on his time on Gen.G, it's kind of like I'm not the strategy coach. There's like a drafting guy who's handling a lot of stuff. He's like more big picture type guy, right? And when the big picture is on the wall, it's just a portrait of DN SOOPers right now. I don't know how much he's really involved in fixing or shaping that, because there's just too many problems. Like, there's too many issues. There's clearly decisions happening about moving players around from higher ups that are not his choice, as far as I can tell, because that's not the type of decision he's made in the past. Yep. And I think at some point, here's my theory, right? This is my completely just in my own head theory, is he's unhappy with how things are going. He's trying to figure it out. When I see oDin on stage, he's always trying to crack a joke with his players. He's always trying to keep them in the right headspace. Like, we've all seen oDin laughing with the players right before a really tough match against like, a top 5 team, and we know they're going to get wrecked 2-0. But I don't think it's because he doesn't care. I think it's because he's trying to keep his team like in a winning mindset and trying to make jokes, trying to keep them happy. I think probably a lot of movement's been made around higher ups for moving his players around, like AD carry, support for 3 different supports they have, the call up of Quantum, and Pyosik for Dove, which happened recently as well, where I think he feels a strong, immense attachment to his team, his players, and like the loss streak they're in. Like, when you're the head coach and you take a lot of the blame, I mean, you're supposed to take a lot of the blame, especially in Korea. You're supposed to absorb a lot of that and say like, this is on me, even if it wasn't on you, and the players did exactly the opposite of what you said when you were getting them ready for the game. That's just how it goes. Because he resigned, especially because he resigned at the timing of after all these roster moves, the bigger ones started coming through, Enosh and then Pyosik out, and then Pyosik back in. Makes me feel like higher ups are like, okay, I don't care like how close you are with these players and how you guys are sharing this hardship. Like, we literally have to try something else because DN is not happy. DN is not happy. Our partners are not happy. People are not happy. They have won, by the way, out of the like last 37 games or something, 2 series. 2 series out of like the last like 37 or something crazy like that. I saw that stat on Twitter yesterday. Yep. They're like vastly becoming one of the least successful orgs in LCK history. And so like higher ups are pushing him. He doesn't want to do it to his players. And then maybe he just was like, look, I don't want to fight with this org about these decisions anymore, but I can't be the main coach anymore. I agree. I disagree with the direction, and I'm stepping aside. That's my crazy, tinfoil hat. Like, Wolf has this really specific theory about oDin that I see, because he does not strike me as the type of guy who would just walk away from his team and his players. I feel like for me, it's more about like he just doesn't. And also, by the way, in my opinion, this is his last coaching job. He probably won't get another one. Like, I personally feel that way. I don't, after what's gone on this roster, like, he's probably done. So if you walk away for personal reasons and you go, I don't want to be attached to like all my players being sent around. I'm out of here. You guys can figure it out. Because now, moving away from my theory, moving into reality, now DN SOOPers in even more trouble. They don't have a head coach. How are they going to fix it? Where are they going to find a head coach in the middle of the season? Who wants to join this team that has no wins? Who wants to get involved? Who wants to be Goong? Not Goong, by the way. He doesn't want to be Goong. He wants to be out of there. He's probably drafting his resignation right now. That's like the reality. Is like, does this help anybody? I don't think so. I think things get worse.
Yeah, I don't know. Something had to change here, Wolf. It was so much losing. It was historic levels of losing. Even the bros have not lost that much in such a short amount of time. Even though I saw a post recently, since franchising, bros are the losingest team. and you've changed the players. You've changed 3 of the supports. You thought about, or you've swapped the AD carry. You swapped the jungler. At what point do you take that accountability? I think this is exactly the right time because the season is not over for DNS. Like, fuck first place. Fuck 6th place. Like, you just need to make it into play-ins. And right now, you've got a limp Kiwoom DRX right in front of you who's starting to pick up momentum. And I feel like inted a lot of their season to stick in lazy feel for the home front instead of Jiwoo, who just needs some confidence around him. And now they are finally getting some of that momentum with an upset win over Bro. Nongshim's gonna figure it out eventually. They've got Diablo on their team. You have to do something. You have to do something. And at what point is enough losing enough? And I think, okay, it's when you get eliminated from Legend Group contention, despite the fact that you have one of the breakout players of last year in closer, despite the fact that you have World Championship Pioshik and you decided to stay with him, despite the fact that you picked up the 2 world finalists. Like, you got everything. It's on you. And they gave him, I think, more than enough time to figure it out. And they look pathetic. It is pathetic. This is like down there in the depths with Dignitas as one of the worst organizations this year in the world. And it's, it falls on the head coach at some point. So I understand. I get it. He was really nice. He said all the right things. He got his hand caught in the cookie jar with the Enosh for Diablo trade, and he covered up as much as he could. But at some point, the stops with you. The listening stops from the players. And yeah, like I kind of don't care about maybe it was his decision or, this doesn't seem like him. Like, I don't care. You've lost a historic number of games. Thank you for not blowing up our work. I will agree
with that. I will agree with the fact that, like, even if it is impossible, it is your job to fix this. That's why you have a job here. And if you can't do it, maybe you should leave. That is like a take you can have. And I think that makes sense. And obviously, factually, regardless of what was going on in the team and what he thought he could fix, he could not. Or he just thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna see what happens as these players evolve, whatever the case may be. We don't know, but the team wasn't getting fixed. But like when Bro fired Edgar.
Ensign Edgar.
Obviously things are better now. But at the time they did not get better until this year. I just don't think this helps anything. Like, it is really scary. Like, I need to even open it up to see what their score line is. I think it's like 1-19. What is it this year? This so far? No, it's only 1-13. It's only 1-13. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's still in reach.
But it is, if things don't change at all. They are 2-26, by the way. They've won 2 games. That one series, they won 2-0. If things don't change, they might be like 1 and what's the maximum, actually, because they changed the number of games in the round. I don't know, 1-30 something at the end of the year. Like, that might actually be their fate.
I think it's 4-4-4-12. So 1, it's 18 in the first round, 12 and no.
So 1-29. Was that what it would be?
8. So it's 12. It's 18.
18 plus 12.
26. 26. So it'd be 1-25. Because it's not 12, right? It's not rounds 3, 4, 5. It's just rounds 3 and 4.
Oh, that's right. They didn't change my games.
Games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So they might have 1 win at the end of the year if things don't change, because, like you said, even QM DRX is getting better. And I don't think we've had like very few games that even felt winnable for the Soopers, like individual games. We've had
I was sending Bro to Worlds because of the way that they were playing, and then we did the same thing with Taeyun and BNK4X. We're like, well, we got to temper. They were the temper the expectation opponent.
Yeah, I mean, Nongshim beat them yesterday in EWC as well, and we were like, oh, okay, like, hold on, are Nongshim back with Lehen?
No, don't fall, as Fermonte used to say, the razor kick. This is the razor cake, Wolf.
Yeah. So like, I don't know what to say about this team, but it's over. Like, it's over. It's done. Like you said, fuck first place. That's never happening, right? Sixth place, never happening. What can they figure out? I don't know. But personally, I'm not that interested. I'm not that interested in the team that could maybe make 9th or 8th place. It has no potential. Meanwhile, like, by the way, 9th place right now, it's actually might shock you. It's Nongshim Red Force is in 9th place at the moment. And they actually have potential. They just got a new 80 carry. Lehens just came back. They just upset B&K and EWC. And like, Nongshim got problems, okay? Scout's really not playing well. King's having some issues. Sponge is Sponge. But like, I feel like when I look at Nongshim, I'm like, well, you were better before, and then you had a bit of a decline, and things are a little bit weird right now, and you thought Taven was the issue, and you got Diablo, and it's taking some time to fix, but they will be better. They will. I know they will. I know they're not going to go down, and I don't think they're going to flatline. I think they will slowly. I don't know if they're going to be they're definitely not going to be a Legend Group team, in my opinion, but they will make play-ins, probably. And if they don't, it's kind of interesting, and it's probably because like QMDRX got a lot better. But with the Supers, I'm like, you're not going anywhere. Sorry, unfortunately. I already saw parts of this team not go anywhere all year last year, and I'm not going to suddenly believe that things are going to change here this year. But if you have no head coach, is that also going to help? I mean, look, it is what it is, but I don't know. Thanks for trying, oDin. Let's move on.
Lancer is the top laner in DN SOOPers Challengers. Just throwing that out there. All right. Before we dive into some of those matches and then get into our predictions for the week, it's time to remind you about a longtime friend of Last Free Nation. It's a friends over at Into the AM. Now, Into the AM is having a Memorial Day sale until the 31st of May with everything up to 70% off. Go to intotheam.com/LFN or click the link in the description below to receive an additional 10% off of the sale discounts. You must use the link or you won't get the additional 10% off. Into the AM ships to many countries worldwide for free, so make sure to stock up your summer wardrobe during this sale. I'm wearing my both graphic tee, not sure if we got that on the screen, and the bomber jacket. Plus, you've heard me talk about the athletic shorts that just hug my thighs so perfectly. I love it. Make sure to check them out if you need to restock your wardrobe for this summer. That's also intotheam.com/LFN for an additional 10% off the sale discounts. Wolf?
I mean, I'm also wearing mine right now. It's just a black t-shirt. It's very basic, but like the quality is really good and it's incredibly comfortable. So even if you're not a graphic t-shirt kind of guy and you just like to wear basic t-shirts like me, they've got you covered on that as well. I always say this about Into the AM, but check out their website because their selection is incredibly diverse in terms of graphic designs, but also different types of clothing. It's not just shirts, as you mentioned. There's really something for everyone. There's something for everyone in there. So go check out the website if you do nothing else.
All right. El Clasico? What is the nickname of Gen.G T1? Obviously, Telecom War.
I've been trying to make one. I've been trying to make one for years, and nothing has ever stuck. I can't even remember any of the ones I tried last time. I wanted to make red and gold match a thing. Nobody cared. I wanted to like I've tried so many things, and everyone. The cool thing is, both of these teams are such like 2-syllable Gen.G T1 that people just say Gen.G T1 or T1 Gen.G. Usually Gen.G first. I guess it sounds better or something. I don't know, but Gen.G T1 is usually what people say. We got to come up with a name for this. Like Tiger Phoenix or something. I don't know. There's clearly a concept here. I mean, that's the mascot, right?
Yeah. Is there like, is blood too strong? The battle of the, because it's blood red and shiny gold. Gold's not like as ominous, I guess. We'll have to figure it out. And let us know in the comments, honestly, because you have the power to try and make this narrative for us. I want to make it a thing. Honestly, it would just be so much easier if it was the Classico of Korea. Like that rolls off pretty well. Everyone knows we're not talking about D plus or Hanwha. Sorry, Hanwha. I wish we could call like Hanwha versus D plus like the Chebble, something about Chebble, but that would definitely get us in trouble. The Chebble Classic. T1 Gen.G, they did battle. It was one of the best series of the year. Went the way of T1, who were down, 7,000 gold at one point in the series and gonna get knocked out. It was a fantastic series in terms of play, in terms of picks. Wolf, they were playing so fast. We had Rumble in the mid lane in that series. We had a bunch of different picks as well. It was just a treat to watch after a relatively slow week of other matches, which did include play of the year by career on Seraphine, by the way. That was insane. I know I'm going all over the place, but the Seraphine play, I forgot about this. The Seraphine play was amazing against Hanwha Life Esports. If you haven't checked it out, go watch it.
Don't worry, it'll be on Mad Movie. It'll be on Mad Movie. You'll watch it many times.
Never mind. Yeah, just watch the LCK show. It was if it doesn't win play of the year, this is where I will be mad at the powers that be, Wolf. I'm gonna go ahead and tweet about it.
The year's only like a third of the way in. So like
Wolf, that was play of the year. That was play of the year. Like it was they were down so much. It felt like out of nowhere. And he did the flash reposition, Seraphine ult onto 3, which part of that was luck. I think part of that was luck, but he stepped in. It was just so against the run of play. And like, I think I was watching that with Hooney and Wadid. And I think we were like just smacking each other, screaming in the back. It was just so awesome. Anyways, okay.
It was very cool. That was on my off day, and like everyone was talking about it and texting about it, and I had to go watch it immediately. The coolest game was game 1, in my opinion. I know like the crazy comeback pays Caitlyn game where he played insanely well and was like flashing on people was very, very fun and very enjoyable. But it was kind of, to me, that game was less fun because it was like, okay, Gen.G have a really huge lead. T1's going to kind of like hide and play a little guerrilla warfare, play through sides a little bit and get back in the game. That's a very cool, good League of Legends, by the way. I thought it was a very high level game. I thought all games were really good. But game 1, like the Twisted Fate coming out, and then the Rumble swap into the mid lane, which is a good matchup there. And then how they used how Chovy played Rumble like it was a global because he just put his ult down from like really far away and helped impact so many plays because his equalizer placement was good. And the amount of like, we had like 4 teleports per fight. Like it felt like with some of the dives in the bottom lane and the cross maps were crisp. It felt like if you had like, I don't know, like, you know how people try to make perpetual motion machines and like everything is moving all the time and there's like a bunch of counterweights and everything's flying around and you just like, you start it and then it just kind of, everything starts flying around and pushing against each other and everything's moving and like it's super pre-planned and it's all coming out perfectly and like the game just keeps going. Like it just never stops, even though like all these crazy things are colliding with each other. It just keeps moving. Obviously, eventually the game ends, right? Like there's no such thing as a perpetual motion machine. But like, that's what it felt like to me. Like everyone was playing at their near peak in that game. Everyone had an incredible game. Everyone's rotations were good. Like every single time a fight was won by one team or the other, it was because they played like just a little bit better or they were just a little bit more prepared for that fight. It was never like, there was no Canyon int. You know what I mean? There was no, Faker had a bad laning phase or the bottom 2v2 was just completely doomed and there was no way out. Like it was just constantly pressure being applied by junglers and the global mid impact was huge. I loved it. It was probably my favorite game of the year so far. Individual game. I really, really enjoyed it. And it was such a breath of fresh air for so much of the trash games we've had this season. All the 2-0s and all the like foregone conclusions and boring games. This one hit. And I'm going to say something that I've kind of alluded to a lot. Maybe a little controversial. Maybe not for some people. Whatever.
I'm ready.
This series made me feel like these two teams are clearly the best teams in the LCK right now. The things we saw in this series, the from the eye test, like the moments, the moves that were made, the rotations, to me, like, I don't think I can expect like KT or Hanwha to be able to reach those heights in like FaZe's defense, the flash forward, those types of moments, the crazy like Chovy pulls out mid rumble. The whole team looks super prepared to play that. Looked like they were ready to do it at a moment's notice. Everyone plays around it incredibly well. Everyone knows how to handle it. Like those games made me feel like, okay, Gen.G and T1, like they were a little slow starters this season. Like very, very good teams. We know that they can beat any of the weak teams, but like couldn't quite get it together. They got caught a few times. Doran had a rough start. Faker's landing phases were rough. Canyon kind of inting a little bit, but like they're figuring it out. And I think these two teams will ultimately become the best teams in the LCK, and I think will likely be our MSI, our two teams that go to MSI. I think these two teams are it. And I'm saying it early. I think these two teams are the best team right now.
The speed at which these teams played was so fun. As you said, a breath of fresh air, even with like play of the year from career earlier. Some of the plays that KT had as well. It was pretty awesome. Just a great treat. I just think that Hanwha Life's style keeps the game simple. It's win early, blast through it, and then just keep punching until they're finally dead. That seems so simple. Whereas we got such, as you alluded to, great macro play decisions, macro calls. Yes, Faker finished 0-6-6 in that game that you talked about, game one. But he was constantly on the side lane forcing pressure, despite the fact that he was down that much, very much like Shu earlier in the week. And FaZe was getting in positions to do stuff. And so despite them being down more and more gold, the fights were still close until the very end. And it just was more complex, right? If we push this wave in here, we can do this there. And if we on respawn, then we can do here. And are you tracking the TP? I can be here. That to me is like higher level League of Legends than what we're seeing out of Hanwha, where Hanwha is blast the early game, have a big enough lead, force them into the second Drake fight or the third Drake fight with our lead. And then now there's really no way back unless we throw. And that is ruthless and awesome to watch a display of power. But to see this level of creativity, problem solving, and agility from all 5 players, all 10 players, honestly, in the server is what we love about League of Legends. It's what we love about the LCK. It's what we love about Worlds, because that always brings up the best out of teams. Maybe there were a couple of years at Worlds where people just started playing real slow and real tight, and the tension itself built up because it's Worlds. But it's when it's free flowing and awesome like this, very 2024 T1 BLG-esque. That to me is how it's supposed to be played, and we got a front row seat to that. So if you haven't watched it already, T1 and Gen.G showing off why, according to Wolf, they may be the 2 best teams in the LCK.
I mean, look, I'll take it back if it doesn't look that way in the future. I'll be like, okay, I guess I was wrong. Like, I'll admit being wrong. But right now, it's like an early take that I have, and
yeah,
like I don't know, my heart was like beating fast when I was watching, and I was like, wait,
oh yeah,
I was like, the slump is over. Like these two teams are there. Obviously, there are still issues on these rosters, right? Like Faker's landing phase isn't good with every matchup. You know, he will pop off on a call in that game, and everyone will be like, see, Wolf, like look at that landing phase. What are you talking about? Like. Yes, I know like that can happen. Yes, Canyon will have the most measured, careful, incredibly brain-oriented, like early pathing game where he makes no mistakes and just totally gaps the enemy jungler and looks like the smartest jungler on the planet. Like he will have those games as well because we know he's capable of that. But like Canyon is what I'm talking about. Canyon will also sometimes just be like, nah, I think I can get this dragon, and then like we'll go in and not be able to smite it and then die, or like have to flash, and you're like, what was that? Like I think most junglers would say no. But that's like the magic of Canyon, right? I just think when you look at what these two teams are doing when they look incredibly prepared, it's next level. It's levels that I think Hanwha and KT can't reach. I also think this series meant a lot to both teams. You could feel the rivalry. You could feel the, oh no, this one's the important one. Like if you lose it, it's so much momentum in the standings as well for your race to like first place or the best seed possible, because this is the toughest opponent. So whoever wins it gets that like, I beat the bestest team and you couldn't do it, and like you can try again in round 3 to beat me, but I got you this time. It's such a huge momentum swinger, but like both teams have the biggest fan bases in the world. So like, what are you gonna do? You know, it's you're gonna get invested as a player. I think you're gonna be like, this is prom night. You know, it's like this is the most important one.
I mean, you know, Pays being the guy that played for both squads, like that to me also just an awesome extra little bit of guess on the fire, which contrasted, Wolf, the like slobber knocker we got of KT and Hanwha, which was on Sunday. Our top 2 teams, or 2 of our top 2 teams, last time that they played, Hanwha Life Esports defeated the previously undefeated KT and forced every KT believer to get off the ride. I mean, it was that and then the bros beating them. And now KT find themselves 10-3, Hanwha Life 12-1. Hanwha looked unstoppable. And then they just got punched in the mouth in game 1, man. Like and then they punched back, to be fair, but it was just not thinking man's League of Legends. It was hands fighting. I think I'm looking at a picture here at 25 minutes. This is 4th Drake. It's 19-13, man. Like it was just a lot of fighting early. You get some edges, but really it was heroics from Gumayushi and Delight keeping them in the game, but aiming and Cuz having themselves quite the day. Perfect as well, defeating Zeus's Sion. Sion was like so busted, undefeated. We ran a stat on it. It was like 7-0 or some ridiculousness. And they get the job done in game 1 and game 2. They give Hanwha Life Esports gives Pike to Delight, who then promptly ints on it in the level 1 and then takes over the game. And so it's just like, oh, okay, we're in for a pretty good treat. And then Hanwha Life ended up just getting bodied in game 3, and KT roller coasters back on. They tried to pick the super early game composition here, Wolf. This was the Olaf top and Draven bot on the Life Esports squad, where Guma and Delight get double killed. It was 4-0 aiming within the first, I don't know, like 7 minutes or some ridiculousness. And that was all she wrote for that strategy.
Yeah, I just I feel like, to me, and I said as much on the cast, but like all 3 drafts for HLE were super all in. It's like, okay, we bowl them over and smash them like a wrecking ball, which Hanwha usually does, but their drafts were like extremely all in this regard. You could argue like game 1, there was some more moving parts with like the Scion and the Azir, but I think in this matchup with Sivir, Cassiopeia, and also Zahin on the other side, it's like, no, you're trapped in the position where you need to win early. And Guma got a bunch of kills, but the rest of everything else was on fire. And then game 2, they were like, okay, Ash Seraphine will crack it with the Pike Ziggs, and we'll do the bursting, and we'll do the diving, and it worked. And they won. And it was one-sided. Yep. And then game 3, the Draven died twice, and like 4 kills went over to aiming early. And their comp was the better.
4 minutes and 30 seconds, bro. I thought it was 7 minutes. No, it was 4 minutes and 30 seconds. The double kill, 4-0 Lucian. Like, that's just...
And it was just like, okay, well... So good. Like, their comp is supposed to explode in the early mid with a Draven cash-in. Except the game was probably over at 4 minutes. So, you know... also, the Draven that can't hurt people has to cut through a Skarner.
Yeah.
And KT made some mistakes in that game. And there were some funny moments where we were like, wait a second, is it playable? But no, they did win. They did not mess it up. And the series was it was like very aggressive. It was very unexpected that KT were able to win. But I think the games kind of sucked. Like I had, T1 Gen.G, the epic, in my mind, like I said, oh, those are the first 2 best and first and second best team. Like that's what I I felt after that. And then I looked at the standings and I was like, oh no, the first and second teams are playing on Sunday. And then I watched them play and I was like, nah. I was like, I think I'm right. I'm pretty sure these are not our first and second teams right now.
But that's why I think the contrast is important here, especially for our viewers who are LCK enjoyers, pinkies up. You can see the difference between the complexity of the game, right? Hanwha is, did we win early? Nice, we're going to win. Did we lose? Shit, we're out. And T1, Gen.G are not. And KT is, hey, we're a solid team. We will punish you as long as we get out of our own way. And they did. They were able to get themselves going compared to, I think, earlier where they, like after the loss, they kind of got a little shell shocked and got surprised by the bros. And I think Hanwha's difficulties in this match where they're getting punished are very similar to the bros against Kiwoom DRX, where the bros have been going pretty smooth and really haven't faced failure in the face of adversity over the last 5 series, 11 matches. And that, I think the difference is Hanwha kept going. They're confident despite failure. I think the bros showed, oh, we're starting to lose, and they started to tighten up, and all of a sudden their style kind of went out the window.
I think that's kind of true of KT when they lost as well.
Yeah.
They tried playing a little bit more aggressively mid jungle, and it didn't work. Bro bounced back with a win over KT this last week. So like, Bro lost to Kiwoom, but then beat KT, who beat Hanwha Life Esports. It's all a bit difficult to understand. There's a lot of like, this is an online qualifier part of like some of those games where people are playing at home in their facility, which is weird and strange for Korean esports. Like, we don't normally have qualifiers like that, but since COVID, we've kind of figured out the system of sending the refs to the team houses and stuff. I don't think if you're technically the best team in the LCK, that like KT can stop you by just being like, oh, I guess we'll just play a little safe and draft around like some winning bottom lanes, and then like, we'll see what they'll do. And then Kanavi was like, oh, I fight them anyways, and then like he dies and they lose, and it's like, are you the best team? And then I watched Gen.G and T1. T1 is like, you are 7,000 gold ahead. Caitlyn's in the trough. I will dig out. I will come back. I will win.
Yeah.
Like, and like I look at like Guma on his one of his best and signature champions. He got a cash in, right? Like, maybe he can do something, but the team can't get out. Like, they don't know how to play it, slow it down. Like, they have done it like once or twice, right? And we were like, oh, that was kind of a different game from them. They slowed it down, but for whatever reason, they can't seem to stylistically know, okay, like, we can't do this with this draft. Like, it's too all in. It might not work. It's too risky. This is a really important series. I feel like if you go to game 4 of a best of 5 where you're deep and fearless and like you can't figure out the draft, where you're like, we still have to make it a dive draft, then like I think you're gonna lose to any strong team.
Nah.
I'm not trying to say Hanwha is bad. And I think Hanwha's style is incredible. And they've actually, in my mind, and we've talked about this on the show before, Kanavi has literally changed the meta and how teams are playing right now. Like, they figured it out early, even though it was rough around the edges and coordination. Everyone knows, like, you win the bottom lane, you play through bottom lane, you get your bottom laner ahead. And, like, you play hyper aggressive. You don't, like, get some measured leads. Like, that's not the most efficient way. Which is why, like, for example, Gen.G and T1 had all those crazy bottom side fights, because they're both like, we know where the arena is and we're going to be there. And like, that was the kind of stuff that we saw macro wise from them.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I think Hanwha Life Esports will win in a lot of game 5s. Will be showing a lot of depth. And like, I think they've had a lot of time to show that they have that depth, but we've only seen it like once or twice, instead of like, their drafts look almost always the same every time. And we know that, and we know they're good at that. And we're like, wow, yeah, they really are good at this style. But what happens if a patch just like nerfs everything that they do? What if they just like, a patch makes it so that like, it's actually best to play AP junglers, by the way. Like, Lilia is the way. What are you going to do? Like, can you do that? Like, can you play that way? I don't know. We don't know the answer, but like, I know that T1 and Gen.G can do it because I've watched Canyon play a lot of AP jungle, you know? I've seen Oner do it. That's where I'm like, I don't know what happens in the future, but I can't trust, the same way I said like months ago, I can't trust this KT thing is real. It's definitely fake and BS, right? There's no way Perfect is the best top laner in the LCK. I can't believe that if Kanavi can't play this style, Hanwha Life Esports will still remain the best LCK team. I can't believe that right now.
I got you covered. If the patch changed, number one most played AP jungler here for Kanavi is Nidalee.
Can I guess?
He's 30 and 10. Number two is Lilia, 17 and 10. Number three is
number 3 Zyra.
No, Zyra's 4. I'll get to Zyra. Number 3 is Silas, 10 and 3. These are all very impressive across his career. But then it's Zyra, 5 and 6. Gragas, 9 and 1. You know, like, so it's there. But with this squad, I mean, we saw how long it took for them to get adjusted to this patch. So it's more of like, was that them getting adjusted to themselves, or was that them getting adjusted to this patch? And will that style change? Because we know what it is. And if this patch stays, Wolf, I am inclined to believe that they are the best team. Like, until proven otherwise, they are the best team. Are they the most complex? No. But as much as T1 and Gen.G were able to, T1 against Gen.G was able to dig them out of the trough, as you said, that's because they play the same game, right? Kanavi is called everyone in the LCK. They are shields. I am the sword. And I do believe they play so differently. So as much as that draft sucked, what we learned from Hanwha game 3 against KT is they're willing to play that draft. And honestly, they could be like, we should do this again, just without dying 4 times in the first 4 minutes. Because we're willing to do it. We're the type of players that can do it. It fits our style. That was just unfortunate. And we tried to get it back greedily. Like, I don't think you get a read of like, oh, this is wrong. It's, man, we played it wrong, so we don't even know. But the fact that we played it is the learning lesson. And they showed it is the learning lesson. So people will worry about an Olaf and a Draven in a game 3 or game 4. I find it cool. I do think it sucks that they lost, and they lost that way.
I agree with you that, like, I think their style might just be the most optimal. We don't know. Like, they can look at T1 and Gen.G playing chess, and just like Kanavi can pull a sledgehammer out and smash the board and be like, I don't care, I'm not playing that game. Like, I'm just here to win. Doesn't matter. And maybe I'm biased because I liked the way that T1 and Gen.G stylistically played it. And it looked more complex, and it looked more exciting, and it looked more like high level. Excuse me. But ultimately, winning and blowing up the Nexus, regardless of your strategy, is like the ultimate goal. And so far, Hanwha Life Esports have done that more than any other team. They have the #1 record. But I don't know. I feel like eventually, like, they'll be patched out, not necessarily by like a League of Legends patch, but by the fact that teams will know, I know how to handle this pressure now, because it's so binary. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. But that to me is what I'm excited for. Like, this clash of styles, as long as it doesn't get patched out, right? And if we go to this is the last I'll touch on it, but again, I'm in a World Cup mood here, Wolf. This is like, hey, do you like Brazilian football? You like the beautiful game? You like Jogo Bonito? Here we go. We got some T1 Gen.G for you. Or are you Die Mannschaft? Are you a German football lover? You just love the machine that it is of just forcing their opponents into submission? Then here's some Hanwha for you. And sometimes Die Mannschaft breaks. All right. Damn. That was a lot. We touched on it a bit. Bros, they lost to Kiwoom. I just feel like we got to learn about the Bros on success. They were like so close for maybe the first time, probably the second time in their team's history being like at 500, not over 500, at 500 in terms of match score, over 500 in game score if they beat Kiwoom. And instead, they kind of tripped on themselves. They started doing the, I think I can fix this issue. Like, let me go try to 1v4 the Baron take here. And we saw old bro. We saw a bro that was no longer working together, no longer calling out timers to allow teammates to get on in there. And Kiwoom DRX punished it. It was quite the day there for you, Cal. And they got the job done. So winning ways for Kiwoom DRX for the bros. I think it opened up wounds as, again, we've hit it for the last 3 weeks. Their schedule is getting harder and harder. And their next match against D plus Gia is the most important one in terms of both legend group standing and making it to play-ins. Like BNK Fearx could sneak on in there, given the fact that Tayin has put some wind back in the sails. So what did you make of bros? And are you holding on to the stock with me, or what's up?
I think you raised a really good point on Pog State about how upcoming strength of schedule makes it really difficult for them to make Legend Group, because they have had their easiest matches here in round 2 early, and now they have the tough ones. Like all of our top teams basically are their opponents now. But I actually choose to believe, and this is not me doing the bit where we're like, you're not the real bro fan that we do on the LCK a lot these days.
It feels a little bitty, Wolf.
It's not a bit. It's not a bit. No, but I choose to believe that loss to Kiwoom DRX was bro. Like, bro had confidence issues and decision-making issues. Like, they could not confidently make decisions. Sometimes they would make no choice and, like, fall behind in games they had won, like the T1 series, for example. And then sometimes they would, like, send it, basically, and just be like, oh, coach said we got to make the choice. Guess we'll just do it, and we don't really know what we're doing. But then they got to the point where they, like, actually were making good choices together all the time. And I think the big difference maker to me, after watching a lot of these games and watching them yesterday as well in EWC, is like Namgung is actually really good. Like Namgung actually became good. Which, by the way, like to have the amount of like form diff that he had from the beginning of the year to now, I don't know if I can ever remember a player getting like so much better in like 4 months.
Yeah. And
like obviously casting and Gideon are like a lot of the big engine on what's happening in some of their other wins. Gideon is I've been saying it since the beginning. I don't know why we did getting credit for saying it, by the way. Like, what it was saying, bros were good. I'm like, come on! I said it like week 1.
You said it. You said it.
I was like, come on, this roster is actually good. But like, the reason why I think they lost that Kiwoom series, and like the most egregious example of what you're talking about, which you mentioned briefly, is like the lemmings on Baron. Like, oh, let's all just go in one by one and maybe we can fix it. Now I feel like bro almost were too confident to make these choices. Like, no, actually, I think we can barely do this. And they were all on the same page. Like, if you go in and install this out, then I can come in and like, they can't do the Baron and we can actually do this. We're not that far behind. Like, actually, it's playable. And like, they like made those calls. And it was, a lot of teams are able to wrestle that away. Like, you can see Gen.G T1, like, sometimes be able to salvage those calls where it looks really bad. But like, Faker's doing some crazy movement. And he's like tricking them and he's walking in and out. And then like, they pull off the Baron and they take too much damage. And then the next person shows up. I think bro were like, I think we're ready for that. They weren't, and they were too confident, and they'll learn that. I choose to believe they're going to bounce back. I actually think this was a fluke series. Kiwoom DRX also, by the way, a little bit better these days than they have been. Like you were saying earlier in the show, they've definitely started to kind of hit their stride. Like the Lazy Field sacrifice might have been worth it. Like maybe actually they're better than they were before now. Maybe they've grown. Maybe it was actually okay. Because at first it was like a disaster. And we kept being like, Lazy Field's laning phases are so bad, but he gets good out of the lane. Now I'm like looking at his laning phases. They're not great, but like he's not 25 CS down 10 minutes every game. So it's good. And like I think bro got caught a little bit by Kiwoom DRX's form, but also kind of got caught a little bit by their own confidence, and they made some mistakes. I think it's with Coach Song at the helm, with what he's been able to do with this roster already, I think that they will upset at least one of the teams that people don't expect them to beat. I think they will upset at least one of them. They almost beat T1 already. I'm not saying with T1's current form that'll necessarily happen again, but
wow,
I think they will have at least one upset. I'm gonna look at their upcoming schedule real quick.
I will just tell you off the top of my head is D plus and T1 this week, and then it's Gen.G Hanwha next week, man.
I think they could beat Hanwha. I also think they could definitely beat D plus. So, and they need to beat D plus because that's like their direct competition for Legend, right? Like that's the team they need to beat.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
D plus have an easier strength of schedule against Nongshim, against Kiwoom, and BNK. That's our Saturday showdown, right? So
I want to believe. I actually believe a little bit. Like I don't think this is a symptom of like bro is just gonna spiral. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, the bros did, again, as you said, it was EWC online, but they did beat KT, not 2-1, but 2-0, clean 2-0, and there is hope there for the bros. Yeah, and for Kiwoom, just as a little tidbit, I don't know, I just thought of it. I had a buddy when Super Smash Brothers Brawl came out on the Nintendo Wii here, Wolf. Again, Wolf, console gamer.
Tripping.
The Japanese version actually came out, I think, about 45 days, maybe a month, but 45 days before the Western version came out. And so my friend, who was very good at Melee, we would play all the time, waste our lives playing Melee, bought the Japanese.
Never a waste. Don't say that, dGon. That's slander. Anyway, go on.
Bought the Japanese Wii, bought Brawl, and just grinded that 45 months before, or 45 days before. And I was over at college. We're waiting for it to come out. I went to college at Virginia Tech. We're chilling, dude. He's the pro player of Team Liquid, one of the almost greats. He was around for a long time. He was beating the shit out of everybody. And I came home and I was like, "Hey man, you have Brawl? Let's play." Because my buddy didn't go to college because he was gonna be a pro. He's like, "Yeah, I got it. I think I'm gonna enter the tournament and go pro." I was like, "Okay, whatever." This is actually the first esports story. I think I didn't know esports before this, and we played 24 times, and I lost 24 times in a row in a game where we were like 50-50. We entered a tournament of Melee together, and I finished higher than him. I didn't have to play him, but I finished higher than him. It's like 64 people. I finished like 10th or something like that. When I went back to Virginia Tech, I beat the shit out of everyone except Chillin' Dude, who ended up also becoming a pro. That is what happened to Kiwoom. They got their ass kicked in front of thousands of people by Hanwha and by Gen.G, and they just leveled up. They got the experience in the butt whippings, and now they beat the Indomitable Bros. We'll see how long that buff lasts, but that's what I would like to think it is. Like win by lose.
So I'd like to think that, like Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which is the worst designed Smash Brothers game, that bro just had a trip against QMDRX. They tripped. They didn't have the mod where tripping was disabled. No so they had a trip, and then they went straight back against KT Rolster and didn't lose by some stupid mechanic that was added to the game for Sakurai to just be like, "Oops, a silly happened in the middle of my family party game."
Oh yeah, that was good. This is for the hardcore Wolf and dGon fans right here.
And you know what? Like Hanwha Life Esports know that like Jarvan is Meta Knight tier right now, but they don't know that in the future Meta Knight might be banned from tournaments. And so I'm not sure if they're going to be able to keep the streak going. I almost grabbed my copy of Brawl to bring over here, but it's actually like packed away because all my room isn't unpacked.
I saw you looking. I was like, "What's he looking at? Is he looking up stats?"
I was gonna go get it, but it's packed away. Unfortunately, it'll be some other day. I'll bring it out.
My friend was indeed a Meta Knight main, and his results did indeed start dropping when Meta Knight got banned. He ended up being able to play everything. I think he ended up playing a ton of Peach after that. But all right, memory lane done. Time for predictions, everybody. Let's pull up this week a little less of that 1 verse 2 verse 3 verse 4 action, only happening actually once. It is KT Rolster taking on Gen.G later on in the week. That'll be on Friday. So let's get to it. T1 versus Kiwoom DRX. This is where the Brawl metaphor falls apart.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go with the T1. I'm gonna predict T1. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Nongshim versus KT. As much as they got the EWC victory, give me
It
KT.
didn't look good for those who were watching it just before this recording, like I was, and luckily for none of you guys had to, commentate it, unless you're like a co-streamer that happens to check out our show, KT. I'm sorry, man,
Yeah.
you had to watch that. I don't even know if he was co-streaming actually, but yeah, I'm gonna go KT. Pretty easy first day.
Man, if they were good, this would be interesting. B&K versus Hanwha, and then D+ versus Bro, the big one.
I'm gonna go Hanwha, I think, even though B&K are
momentum.
B&K are a pretty interesting team. I think kind of like how KT upset Hanwha last week. I think it's possible for Hanwha Life Esports to mess this up, but I wouldn't predict it. I'm gonna predict Hanwha there.
Yeah, me too. I think Hanwha just had a bit of an oopsie. It'll be big on to not Taeyun, but Rapta to stop the aggression of Kanavi. We've seen Raptor be like budget Kanavi and try to do the invading stuff, but I think the boys will get it together here and get the victory. And give me Bro. Just give me Bro, man.
I'm a Bro predictor as well. I think Bro should win this series. I think they are the better team. I legitimately think they are the better team.
I think both these teams are made out of glass. And so whoever gets punched first will break. That's honestly what I think.
I can see that. I think it's probably going to be a 2-0. I don't think it's a 3-gamer, no matter what.
I agree. I think if D+ win game 1, it's 2-0 D+. But if Bros win, I can see a world where D+ claw a game back because of a sneaky pick. D+ have been leaning into that more. And then when it doesn't work, they're not blaming the pick. They're blaming the play of the players. And I think that kind of, at least direction from CV Max is good. How CV Max coaches, not my cup of tea. But I agree with the idea of the message. For the first time ever, we will see the oDin-less DNS and the revolving door of players that play for them against the other team that was terrible, but now got to win, Kiwoom.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kiwoom here. I think as much as I want to say that like there's some volatility here, I just think DNS are just unfortunately like disaster class at the moment. The sad thing is for DNS, this is probably the closest they're going to get to a win, potentially, like in terms of realistic matchup, until round 3. So like, good luck. I hope it goes well for you. I hope that we're wrong.
Put the original roster back in. Give me Peter. Get him out of Academy. Stop having him do TikToks for your challengers team, please. Peter, Duck Dom, Closer, Pioshik, and Doodoo. And camp the shit out of Rich. Camp Rich. Please. Please. Like, anywhere else, I think Willard can match you. But Rich, come on. KT and Gen.G. This is the big matchup of the week of our top teams.
Yeah, I think this matchup's going to come down to the jungle, like who's performed better on the day. Because Cuz has had some Canyon-like tendencies as of late. But he looked better in their matches last week.
He did.
So I just think that Chovy and Keen are too good. And so I'm just going to go Gen.G here. I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to move on from KT, man. I don't think they're bad, but I don't think they're as good as Gen.G and T1. And I said earlier, like, I'm pretty sure they're going to become our best 2 teams in the standings. How can I be like, well, yeah, KT will just randomly beat them? No, I'm not going to predict that.
I don't think it's randomly. I think Aiming is having a career year. Like, Aiming is playing so well in one of the few bot lanes that can pressure Duro and Ruler by themselves that will force jungler pressure to come on down, which means top lane is going to be all about draft. I think it is draft setup here. Perfect has shown, which again blows my mind, Wolf, has shown he can win matchups, especially if he's given the draft resource. Hell, even without a gank, the draft resource, he can get it done. Remember, he got bullied all last year, and his job was to soak the pressure and, hide behind tower and not give up the kill. Once we put some gas in him, he was working well. Against Keen, a little scary, but he showed it. He proved it, man. I'm going with the upset.
He did beat him last time. He did beat him last time. He did not beat Zeus on the Zeus test when we had that test on this show.
He
where
did
I was
not.
like, is he the best top laner?
Fucking failed that one. He failed that one hard.
But I mean, this time, I like what you're saying,
remember
especially
Zahen?
with aiming. Yeah, I mean, like Ruler is not that scary to me right now. Chovy is scary. Ruler's fine. He's not making mistakes, but like aiming is also scary. I like your reasoning, but I'm not going to trust. I'm not going to trust yet.
Okay.
I'm going to go Gen.G.
Okay. Remember, we also had the big KT facepalm when they lost on Talia from BDD. BADD number 5 for all of you LCK Discord enjoyers.
No.
Saturday Showdown, D plus Kia versus BNK FearX. This, I always say it, always a banger series. Even more so now with the trade. Taeyun's in, giving the team a little bit more swagger. D plus will be licking their wounds after a loss against Bro. What do you think, Wolf?
This one is really hard. I think this might be the hardest one of the week. Yeah. Because like, I want to say that BNK can do it. Like Taeyun's really good. They've figured a lot of their synergy problems out. They're pulling out cool picks like Jin Zhao top, which we saw in EWC, for which we haven't talked that much about, but this is a more LCK focused show. I do think that there's some creativity there, but D Plus have also been creative as of late.
Yep.
Honestly, this sounds messed up. I mean, it's not messed up. We all know it's true, and I vote D plus because I just think Vikla he's on the bad train again. Like he's not hot. He's cold right now. Vikla's cold right now. We got to get him in the oven.
He gets solo killed and makes a mistake, and he just like it's the player cam thing. We see it all the time.
I can't handle it. I'm worried about Vikla. I'm worried about Vikla. I don't think he's gonna be able to make a huge impact in this series.
This is where we depart yet again. Damn, I leave you on back-to-back games. I think BNK get it done. It's always a big banger, and I think Taeyun is going to get them. It's changed the DNA of the team of getting over the line in series that they should win. I don't think he's good enough to make them win series they shouldn't win, right? But in series where they need someone to be the stable guy or the other team's throwing to them, they can do that. He's brought that to the team. Kellen is playing well. He's still playing well. Like, you have such unique parts on maybe not the top teams that I think it gives you a puncher's chance, and I'll take that puncher's chance with being.
You said on Pog State that you thought D Plus was going to Legend Group instead of Bro, but you're having them lose to Bro and lose to BNK? I don't know, man. Yeah. Maybe it's time to be a Bro leaver, dGon.
Well, we'll get to that. I said there was one game that I think they might upset in. DNS versus Gen.G. Oh, wait, we skipped Nongshim versus Hanwha.
It's Hanwha Rage. You can skip it. It's Hanwha. It's fine. Yeah.
All right, sweet. Hanwha. Gen.G versus DNS. This is Gen.G. And finally, Wolf, the final match of the week. It's a rematch of the home ground. Bros versus T1.
It's a tough one. Like, I think if you trust Bro here, like, you're really just trusting in the fact that there's been a little bit of inconsistency for T1, right? Like, there's been some games where the mid lane doesn't work out so well. Oner's Jarvan hasn't looked that good. You know, Doran, sometimes a little bit of an off game, a little bit of a funny one. Getting solo killed by casting, probably not. But if you're looking at Gideon, is Gideon better than Oner right now? Like right now, like maybe, which is kind of weird to say, but like, and I can never. It's like when you say the sentence, like, yeah, I think Gideon's better than Oner right now. You're bracing for like T1 fans aren't even in the room. You're like, wait, no, I'm just considering a thought. Like I'm not even like I'm in the shower right now, and I'm like, and then I like just make sure like the tiles aren't going to turn into like a Twitter account with Faker as a profile picture. But like, or like I love Oner only tweeting at me being like, I think you should be a little bit more objective. And I just well, I do think that like maybe right now Gideon could be better than Oner, which I don't even feel like is necessarily definitively true, and I'm making a big meme, and I'm sorry for dunking on T1 fans that are often irrational. I think T1's whole package and the gameplay we saw against Gen.G recently is like the most recent time we've seen T1, and they looked like god tier. So how can I, especially after like what should be a fairly freebie win over QM in the early week, how can I think that Bro are gonna do it? I know Bro almost did it last time, and Bro got better, but I also think T1 got better since they last met. So I'm gonna go T1.
Brother, Pog State does not matter as much as 1, our predictions, and 2, our show. The circus, this brotherhood, you know, that's their theme. But the bros, it's in their name. Did you see what Romer did to Faker last time they played? You know? I think. Also, T1 plays at the beginning of the week. They've got all week to slack off and forget to take the bros seriously. You know? They play the very first game of the week and the very last game of the week. My God, my Prez are going to the shitter. Give me the bros as they go 2-0 this week. They win the important match against D+. And I just think T1 play down to their opponents. And one of these times they're going to get punished. I feel like people have been saying that for like 13 years about Faker. One of these times they're going to get punished, and it's going to be Romer in the mid lane to get the job done. And of course, their former member in Theodore. Oh, it's going to be sweet. There you go. There's our Preds for the week. I think I'm going from like third place to last place after this week.
I'm still in first somehow, and I feel like with my even my bro pred makes me feel nervous that I might drop down. But
that's a 50-50, man. Like the bro is 50-50. I think D+ being K, that's a toss up as well. And then I'm definitely taking the short side on KT, Gen.G, and bro T1. So. All right. That does it here from us, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thanks for holding on while, again, our schedules have changed a bit with EWC coming on up. In case you missed it, we've got the LFN Herald that is out now, our newsletter for Last Free Nation. You want to be sure to sign up for that so you don't miss any of the esports news, nerd news, sports news, and more across the LFN sphere. It is awesome. So please check that one out and sign up for it. And then you can catch Wolf and I tomorrow and the next day and the rest of the week on the LCK until we have your coverage of the LCK on the LCK show next week here on Last Free Nation. Thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.